Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this evening with our first guest of the night. We have Arnie from Scarlett O'Hara joining us on the podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Just, glad to be here with you guys today.
Scarlett O'Hara is back. Return to the fold. You were saying before you started recording that this is your first tour since the pandemic, I guess. But so tell us a little bit about the band now. What is this current iteration of Scarlett O'Hara in 2023? Just give us a little rundown of what's going on.
So as I mentioned, this is our first run touring since the pandemic. It's a lot of fun, especially with the Skylit Drive. Sunsleep, they're awesome guys, all of them. We got along great. So, the tour went really well. But a little bit after the pandemic, since there was no, touring going on, we're kind of just, writing, and we hit the studio in Nashville with Andrew Bayless. So we're sitting on a lot of, new material. As far as what the material is going to sound like, we've kind of branched off and kind of just experimenting more. We're a little bit older, we want to have fun, doing this. So we're kind of just experimenting, seeing what works for us. We want to reach a broader audience. So that's something that we're planning on doing as far as, what our songs are going to sound like. And that A Skylit Drive tour was just a lot of fun.
Okay. So the material that we received, and probably with the new music that you're making right now, and Lizzie, you're gonna get so mad at me for saying this, but it's saying it all as active rock, and I understand the radio, Octane Radio is saying active rock. I get it. It's like rock, but I gotta move around. It's I'm feeling active, right? And to me, it's no, that's just fucking metalcore, man. What you're describing is late 2000s metalcore. It's that's what active rock is. I thought you were about to say
late stage metalcore.
Late stage metalcore. We're in second wave metalcore right now. Is it gonna be the metalcore sound, early 2000s, nostalgia metalcore, or are you thinking more that Octane rock radio? I just don't like active rock.
It's more new hard rock. That's
modern rock, even you can call it. But so before the pandemic, also, we had released Welcome Back to the Brodeo, which was a super solid, metalcore album. So we kind of did that as our way of saying we're back, it was also a throwback to our fans, who really loved the album Lost in Existence. So it was a lot of fun writing that. So once we did that, we were kind of all right, what's next? What can we do? And we kind of decided to, experiment on our sound, which is, going to be a little bit more radio friendly because we do want to reach a broader audience, but we definitely want to keep some of those heavy elements as well. So I think that's something to look out for with our new music.
I feel like that's a normal thing that some people who are really into metalcore have been saying. I know I've had a lot of friends who really like older Bring Me the Horizon, and the newer stuff they've been putting out in the last few months, they're this is too mainstream. And I'm what do you mean? This would never get played on non-satellite radio, hardly. This is really weird. But do you feel you have really anybody giving you that type of pushback, or do you expect anything like that? Because I feel it's only natural now. The conversation's been out there. As a band grows, you ideally want them to also kind of adapt and evolve and grow with their sound too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel no matter what you put out, you're always going to face some kind of criticism. Maybe people might say, oh, well, Welcome Back to the Brodeo didn't have that lost, even though it was, metalcore, it's still or what I mean? It's just, you're always going to face criticism no matter what you do. So we knew that going in and, creating a new sound, experimenting, having fun, we knew that, there are going to be people that obviously like it, but, there is going to be some pushback. And I think that's something that artists need to get used to, because it's always going to happen. You can't avoid it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my advice to like any other bands that are thinking about like, you know, trying to change a new, you know, sound or try something different, is like, that's always kind of, you know, going to be the case. But, you know, as long as the music is good, you know, you are going to, you know, have people listening to it. So,
yeah, I think hopefully a lot of people's minds have changed, or maybe if there's a lot of newer music fans getting into heavy music, like they don't care as much about it anymore. Like I think back in the day, it's like one example I can kind of think of is like Sleeping with Sirens, and I know your producer worked with Sleeping with Sirens, so I'm going to call out Kellen Quinn directly right here for no reason.
And then
Sleeping with Sirens about to catch some strays.
To yeah,
fuck them. I love Sleeping with Sirens, so this is like from a place of love, but like there was like a very definitive change across like some of their records where it was like very much that like rise core, as I called it before. And it's like, nah, we want to be a little bit more like less screaming, less breakdowns, more like well-written songs and all that. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, this doesn't really like work for me. But now it feels like everyone's like, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want. Like it all sounds pretty chill. Like I just like music, and it seems like more, especially like younger fans who maybe just are getting their like algorithm on TikTok and they're just swiping and hearing every single sound possible. They're like, yeah, it all sounds good to me. I don't really mind if it's not exactly the same as the last record they put out.
Yeah, and also, you know, like the fans have, you know, we're aging, our fans are aging, you know what I mean? So like people that have been lifelong fans that are our age now, you know, they can, you know, open up to different, you know, music and kind of like expand what they're listening to as well. So, but yeah.
I don't know why I had to single out Sleeping with. I could have singled out any band in that. Like,
yeah, you did. Maybe it was because we have it on the notes and you were like that.
No, I thought it a lot at the time because a previous guest on the pod, Hinder, yes, that Hinder. They were like, yeah, like a lot of radio stations and a lot of people who are looking for like music to play on radio, especially in that active rock sound.
You're so mad every time you say
I don't like it,
so
but they're looking for heavier sound, which is really interesting to me as somebody who grew up listening to heavy music. And it's like, yeah, you're never going to hear that on the popular rock radio. You're going to be Green Day, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then that's it. That's as heavy as you'll get. So to have like these radio stations looking for heavier music and for a lot of that music to kind of like, I guess, meet in the middle. It's like we want to write something heavy and we also don't want to like alienate people with too much of the screaming deathcore. I'm going to call it Bring Me the Horizon there. We don't want to do the deathcore shit, but we want to do like well-written heavy music for a radio audience. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense now. Like clearly that's the passion and the interest out there is for that sound.
Yeah. And, you know, when it comes to like live playing as well, like, you know, this past run that we did with the Skylit Drive, we played songs like Lost in Existence, Welcome to the Brodeo. And, you know, and actually the next tour, we're actually going to add some more older songs from Lost in Existence. So the crowd can get feel the old, you know, Scarlett O'Hara and what, you know, we're kind of doing now. So it's a good mix as far as like, you know, what we're playing live. And we have this song called Angry Again. And it used to be called Fucking Pissed. We changed it to Angry Again.
I mean, I like both names.
That song has like a Texas kind of like two-step vibe to it, like Texas metal vibe to it. So like when we play that song, man, people really, you know, react to it, especially, you know, live. People want to mosh and, you know, have fun. So It's, you know, a lot of fun to play live. So, you know, just because we're writing new music or different styles, you know, we're still going to be playing the old stuff that we know people like and enjoy. You know, I don't see nothing wrong with, you know, mixing the old with the new. I think it's you know, it's really good for the audience.
I mean, we see that with like a lot of artists right now. I mean, you have Taylor Swift doing the Eras tour, and she's playing everything from like different times in her life. And I think it only makes sense because you also have a bunch of people going to see these bands that they last listened to maybe like 10 plus years ago. I can't relate, but some people are like that, and they're going to go there and be like, what's this new stuff? And then get kind of upset when they don't hear the other stuff that they listened to 10 years ago, and then kind of be like, oh, I know when we interviewed Emarosa and they came through on their Lega tour, there were some friends that I also had who went to see Emarosa, and they're like, they just played a bunch of their new stuff as like 80s synth, and I don't like that. I'm like, well, did you not listen to their new stuff before you decided to go? Because I feel like that would have would have gave you an inkling of what to expect.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a smart move because this is what people are looking for nowadays. And I think after, being in the pandemic officially over by the CDC, however we want to classify it now, that's how we classify it.
It's over.
At work. But you have it that way, and everyone's kind of worked their way through what happened after when we started to tour again, everyone started to go out and they're like, oh, this probably works better because it kind of covers all of the grounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see what you mean there. Well, yeah, I mean, moving forward, I'm never opposed to writing something heavy. I would actually like to go into the studio, next time I go and just kind of, write out a banger, because it's just fun. I mean, people do love heavy music, but me personally, I was at, I guess you could say scene kid, and all I listened to was metal, all the time. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to listen to anything else. And, now that I'm older, let's say, for instance, that band that I just went on tour with, not A Skylit Drive, Sunsleep. They're very chill, almost like an R&B vibe, pop. And I was loving it the whole time. I was just man, these guys are so good. And, I listened to that, I listen to music with a lot of R&B, influence. So, I kind of definitely grown as I've gotten older, but I'm always going to have that love for that, heavy, metalcore sound. So that's why, I would say, don't be surprised if we have another, song that's pretty fucking heavy.
Yeah, it just seemed like I remember Warped Tour days, and there was a very clear delineation of who was there for what band. You could look at somebody and be like, all right, they're here for 303. All right, they're here for fucking Taking Back Sunday, or they're here for the metal sets that are happening on like A Skylit Drive and Scarlett O'Hara. It's okay, yeah, you're definitely here for the more metalcore scene, and now it just feels like I don't know who you're here for. You could be here for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's a I feel like it looks. The music scene, at least when you go to a show, it doesn't look like it did, 10 years ago. And that's, it's good. I mean, you got a lot more different types of people coming in and checking out these shows. And, I think that's really cool. I think in a way it's kind of showing that it's kind of broadening out, the music. So I think that's really cool.
And I can definitely see that too, because you worked with a producer who did Sleeping with Sirens, but also Jelly Roll, which is also a very controversial music figure just because he kind of is in that active hard rock category and country.
Yeah.
Is that controversial to say
some
that he's
people
in
are
country?
Some people are really upset about it, actually. It's kind of funny.
Okay, we're from Chicago. So I feel our judgment of if someone's country is a little weird. So maybe as a Texan, you could say, is it controversial to be rock and country?
No, I don't think so. I did hear one of Jelly Roll's songs that, what is it called? It was, done by Andrew Bayless, and I was listening to it and I was like, man, this is really good. Even though it's not, maybe not my cup of tea, but I can definitely respect the direction that he's going in with his music. And I think it's really cool. If it's working for him, then, why not? So.
I mean, he gets he gets radio play, and he's been doing super well. And I will say, at least at my work, because I work in radio stations, whenever the country stations, they come up, they're yeah, this dude is charting really well. And they're really surprised because it's so abnormally different from what is traditionally played on country radio. It's usually pop country nowadays.
Yeah.
And they're this is doing numbers though. And I'm yeah, because it's kind of butt rocky, and the kids love butt rock.
Kids love butt rock.
Yeah. It's the new Kids Bop album. Are you unaware?
Oh, no.
Everyone's listening to Nickelback again.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've never made it as a wise man. Hell yeah, brother. It's very interesting for me to experience all the shit that I listened to as a kid, because I was a big Nickelback and Creed fan when I was first getting into rock music. I'll say it. I don't care who knows it. So for me,
staff.
Look, he was 6 feet from the edge and he was thinking. I don't know why that's the only lyrics that came to my head when I thought of any Creed song. It could have been "Can you take me higher?" But it's like, to me, I don't know, maybe it's just like the scene that we're in, like that's kind of not, I guess my camera decided to turn off, but I'm
I didn't
still
want
here.
to see you anymore. It actually hated you quoting.
It's like, oh,
Creed
this dude
lyrics
listens to
Stop
Creed.
Stab.
I'm out, bro.
They said absolutely not.
This motherfucker likes
You're
Creed.
you're on thin ice with your own technology. How does it feel?
Bullshit. Creed didn't do nothing wrong to nobody. The band. Anyway.
I don't know about individually. We don't know.
Maybe it's just our scene though, that we like didn't have, like, we started to make fun of these artists, and like we didn't have a lot of people around us who were like, yeah, I'm going down to the Nickelback show, brother. It's like, that's
yeah,
that never really came up for us. But
yeah,
now
that's true.
Everybody's kind of like, yeah, I don't know, it's fun, it's cool, it's stupid, it's just goofy, like let's just have fun, you know.
So also in your presser, something that I see that's kind of different, but I mean in like a very good way, is that because you guys are from South Texas, you guys are also a predominantly Mexican American band in a scene that is very predominantly very white, male centric and driven. And sometimes you do get some like really questionable characters in there as well, unfortunately.
Okay, settle down, Lizzie.
Okay. But overall, you guys are kind of like in this foray, and I feel like there's a way to kind of champion this a little bit more as somebody who's also like Latina and like seeing other bands that are like this as well. I think it's really great to see you guys like come back and also kind of be a little bit more like vocal about it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, 13, 15 years ago, it pretty much was like that. I didn't see a lot of, Mexican Americans that were in these bands that, that were touring and, putting out all these records. And not that, I put too much thought into it, but, I think it would have been cool to see, Mexican Americans to, kind of inspire like, hey, we're from, Southern California or Southern Texas, and, this is possible, this is something that, you can really do. So, to be doing it and, hopefully I can inspire other, Mexican Americans, Latinos to, get into this music. And, and it's kind of funny because, my parents or grandparent, I would say more my grandparents, they kind of wanted me to, do the mariachi band or like a band that plays corridos, which is, more like a Northern Mexico, like, kind of music style. And obviously it's in Spanish, but I just was like, no, I love metal. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
So, there's things that I can imagine that, some Mexican Americans go through as far as, what their family's telling them and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just, happy to, be back and keep doing it. And hopefully I can inspire others to do the same.
This is the part where I pause and I go, okay, I'm not going to be the white guy with a podcast who immediately starts talking.
You're fine.
Let me let that sit for a second. Just another white dude on a podcast.
Coming on in here.
I mean, look, if I just said I'm a dude with a podcast, you're like, well, that guy's white. Like, it'd be the same. I mean, honestly, it's the same idea with like a lot of 2010s metalcore bands. It's like, yeah, there's just white dudes with long hair and lip rings. It's like, that was kind of the thing. It's like, yeah, that was me too. Like, that's what I was doing at the time. So fuck me too. Like,
don't worry. Now what's the lip ring scars?
Yeah. I am constantly targeted in that meme of like corporate emos. We see you with your fucking like lip ring holes, your snake bite like remains. It's like, all right, settle down. No, but it is a good point. Like, I mean, I am literally somebody who was in a 2010s metalcore band, and I'm a white dude. And it's like, yeah, there were too many of us at the time. We played that. My guitarist, who I still play some music with, is Bolivian, and so we were always like, yeah, we need to like incorporate, basically do Pierce the Veil. Like, we were like, oh, they got that like. They have some of their like influences from that music in their music, and it's like, yeah, let's do that. And it's like, cool. That seems very 2010 of me.
and one thing I was going to mention, like people kind of reacting to you or bands experimenting with their sound and, giving that pushback to those bands. At one point I felt, around 2013, 2014, the music scene got so saturated with like that, I guess that typical metalcore sound that, you know, for a while, like, you know, I was kind of just listening to other music because I felt like I was kind of listening to the same thing over and over. So I'm kind of glad to see like all these bands that are kind of like branching out, making their own sound, because at one point I just felt like it was just too much. Like everyone just sounded the same, just breakdown, chorus, you know, verse, breakdown, you know, kind of that.
I'll put a word on top of Rise core and I'll say Sturgis core, and like how everybody Joey Sturgis is, I'm not shading anybody. Look, it was a time. Okay. We all had haircuts too, but I'm not talking shit about all the haircuts we all had at the time. It's fine. We all did the same shit. We all learned from AP magazine. We did what we had to do. But like, yeah, I agree with you. It's like, yeah, everything just ended up sounding kind of the same. Everybody like said, well, I mean, I think like from a label end, it's like, yeah, we're just going to have a bunch of bands that sound like this because then we can put on a gig and every band kind of sounds exactly the same. And we know it'll sell tickets because they all like every single band because they all are the same band. And as like a music listener at the time, I was like, I want to find the bands that are doing that different thing, because I'll go to a gig and I'll see a band. I'll go, this isn't interesting to me because it's just, the band before them just did this, and the band after them will do the exact same thing. And where is like the interest there? And I think that there's just not a lot of diversity of sound, not a lot of diversity of people. And it's like, that's where a lot of that influence comes from in music that I think was like very much missing in 2010 to 2013. Yeah.
Yeah, then after that, I think I remember seeing like that gent wave kind of come through 2014, 2015. So that kind of like was, you know, there's like a revival almost with like the, you know, with heavy music, because that was right after everything was sounding, you know, too much the same. So, but yeah, like I said, we have fun playing our old songs too live, and, you know, we love seeing the crowd get into it, but, you know, we also, you know, want to show our new music as well. And, you know, very happy with a lot of the new music that's coming. It's not out yet, but it will be coming out, that we recorded with Andrew Bayless, you know, over there in Nashville. So very excited about that.
Now, will that music become an LP, an EP, or are you going to go the singles route?
So right now we plan on releasing 8 songs. So it's not quite an album. It's not an EP. So I don't know if you'd call like an LP.
An LP, there you go.
So it's like right in the middle. But yeah, so these are the songs that we're going to want to push. And, you know, when we record and I'm like, I can't stop listening to it, then I know that's a good sign. And that's what's been going on. So I'm very excited to, you know, put it out and see how people's reactions are going to be, because I think a lot of people will like it. So it's going to be really interesting.
I don't want to say a date that might be wrong, but are we looking at like sooner or end of the year, or when are we looking at for this stuff?
I wouldn't say end of the year. I would say more like a few months.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm excited about that. And we're already playing those songs. You know, we played them on the last run, and, you know, we're going to play them again on the East Coast, the phase 2 part of this 15-year, I was going to say reunion, 15-year anniversary of the Wires on the Concept of Breathing album from A Skylit Drive. So yeah, and like I said, we're actually going to, you know, add a little bit more from Lost in Existence, because we know that, you know, people like that. So we did add some, you know, in the first phase, but after we finished, we're like, maybe we should add some more.
That's a way to sell some tickets to that second wave.
You're like, yay.
Yeah. Damn. Let's talk a little bit about the tour too, because I know we mentioned it, but I haven't been like, we're obviously doing a double pod with you and A Skylit Drive because of the tour. And you've just done wave 1. Wave 1 is complete. Wave 2 coming next month.
June. Yeah.
Okay. So, the tour, you said it was good, so we already know the wave 1 was good, and we know it's a little bit of tease of wave 2. But how did this tour like come together? Because I know that you have some history with A Skylit Drive as well. So like, how did the tour come together? What was like the impetus to do this tour together?
So our manager, Jesse, he manages both us and A Skylit Drive. And so it was, an easy way to, kind of get us on their bill. But, we've toured with A Skylit Drive before, with the OG members and Jag. And, of course, this one was just Jag. I have love for all the guys. It's kind of sad to see how that kind of split happened between the band. But, you're not going to know unless you're in the group. You know what I mean? People can talk all they want and say things about certain members and stuff like that, but you'll never know because you're not in the band. And I can relate to that. You know what I mean? Someone that's in a band. Mm-hmm. So it's just sad to happen. I hope, everyone's, does well with their music endeavors. But, me and Jag personally have always had a good relationship. So, it's fun seeing him again and just, meeting the other members too. They're very nice guys, everyone was so professional. I mean, I think that's what I loved so much about this tour is like, everyone kind of knew their job, professionalism. To me, it goes a long way because when we were young, 18 on Rice Records touring, we weren't thinking straight, we're partying, you get caught up in all that really quickly, and you start losing focus on, the bigger picture. So to see everyone, doing it again and, just that, that professionalism, I guess, just going back to that, it's really awesome to see.
And I also really like how you guys have kind of said as like that hashtag 2K9 scene tour for at least the West Coast. I saw that, I was like, stop. Like, I get it, but oh my God. Are you going to continue with this for all these other upcoming legs of tours?
Who knows? It just fits so well that we're just like, we got to do it, man. It just fits so well. But who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no in the future.
It feels like, I mean, obviously, like having these names from the same era going on a tour together feels like the nostalgia of the moment, the when we were young of it all, all these like kind of like nostalgia, like we want to bring this back, and having these like names on a tour obviously is like, yeah, this is that 2010 again, kind of thing. So as somebody who was, Lizzie, you're too young, you don't know what it's like, but 2010 was like, hype for that kind of shit. So it's very like, oh, cool. Like
you had to be there.
Yeah. Lizzie had to be there. I'm sorry.
You know what? I was like, a sophomore, junior in high school? Probably a sophomore.
It's irresponsible, inappropriate.
I know,
shouldn't go to metalcore shows. I was going to metalcore shows when I was sophomore, I think, in high school.
Maybe. I was going to the Zoomies couch tour that was at the mall 10 minutes from my house.
True.
Nice.
That was around the time when I was going, and like I had like a very like strong wave of like when I was around that age going to like local metalcore shows or like local bands, and it's just like the worst fucking music you've ever heard. Like bands who like picked up their instrument that day and they're like, this song is called like, I don't know, like butts up 7-Up or some shit. It's like, dude, stop.
7-Up.
Yeah, it'd be like the dumbest like kid shit. God. And they 2 screamers, a guitarist, and a drummer with like a snare and a kick, and that's it. It's like holy shit. Like,
oh my God, it's too funny.
And like exactly what you're talking about, like these tours that happened like back in the day, and it's like these are the kids who want to be on that tour just to party and just to like hang out and like not really like the music is kind of secondary, but they still want to play it. But you're just like, I just want to be here to like party with my friends and play the dumbest shit you've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're on a tour with Attila. You are going to do
that. Makes
also
sense.
True.
Yep.
Also a challenge.
So, man, it's just crazy. I mean, I look back at the shit that I used to do. I'm like, wow, like what the fuck, man? Like I used to, go to the venue, put my drums in, and then, hang out with Attila and drink, and then, got to go set up now. And then, a few moments later I'm playing and, if I got a good buzz or I'm drunk or,
Yep.
So, and I think, my body could take it back then because I, was younger. But now I look at the shit that I used to do. I'm like, man, I could do that shit today. Like, that's crazy.
And again, we're not talking direct shit about anybody. We are not calling anybody out here. but like a lot of bands that I've seen that like, I think a lot of them tried to do that shit for longer than they physically could. And those are some of like the bands that have been around for a long time. And I'm like, hey, you gotta like not do that. The show isn't good now. Like maybe if you were like 21 and like a kid, you know, kind of like learning that for the first time, your body could handle it. Maybe the show's had a little bit more of that like danger to it in 2010.
Yeah,
but now it's like, no, man, like, no, your body and your performance are trying to tell you like, hey, just put on a good show, bro.
Yeah, like just chill. Like maybe sit down.
And I remember sometimes, you know, because when we went on tour with the fella, you know, I remember that was like a month-long tour. And, you know, sometimes I'd play and I'd be like, holy shit, you know, I had a few drinks before I play, like, oh man. And then I see them go on, they're like just nailing everything perfectly and they're having a great time. I'm like, holy shit, these guys, you know, can party and fucking go hard. And, you know, it was, and you know, when we went on tour with them, we got really close with the fella, you know, they're fun guys to be with. So yeah, just looking back, it's just like, damn, I did that.
I made it through that.
I survived.
One of my friends who drums in a band with me, he's not going to listen to this podcast, so I feel fine telling a story about him.
Oh no.
We're in a cover band. Who gives a shit? So he showed up for a gig and like just came in real hot, like loud and hot, just like, yeah, man, I'm fine. Let's fucking go, dude. I'm ready. I'm ready to just. No. And we were like, hey, man, are you like okay to play? You seem like very drunk. And he's like, I'm going to hit every fucking note perfectly. Why would you even question this? Why would you challenge me on this? I know what I'm doing. I know I can play. And so we played 3 sets, like an hour each. And he fucked up so many times during the first set. One of the most noticeable, he like thought the song was over and he hit the final thing and he's just like doing like a little like drum move and like the song is still going and he's like, oh fuck. And then to counteract that, he kept going on one song after the song was over. So he's like head down, just like smashing at the like snare and the hi-hat. And like, yeah, man, song's over. And like, there's like a video of him during sound check, like just going off, like hitting the drums. And I'm like staring at him like, this is going to be the worst show we've ever fucking played. And after the first set, he like comes over to us and he's like, I am so sorry. I feel terrible for what I've done here. I'm going to go ahead and, you know, have a little bit of water and some coffee. And I'm going to really just get to a place where I can play the second and third sets. I was like, sounds good, man. And he pulled it together, but I'm like, yeah, it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, you can't do that shit.
Yeah, definitely not.
I can laugh about it now, but at the time I was like,
you're
man,
pissed.
Yeah, like I've just shown up to the gig and you are like 3 or 4 levels above anybody. And it's like a tiny little dive bar out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. So it's like townies. It's like on a lake. So there's like a lot of like people who like own boats and go there for the summer and they just like chill in their like lake house. And it's like, you know, they're there to get blasted and have a great time. But then you see the worst drummer just like going at.
Well, here's the thing. There's 2 different ways of blasted that they want to get. That's going to make it either better or worse for you. Is that they're so blasted that they don't care and they can't tell that the drumming's so bad, or they're going to say this drumming is so bad that the only way to fix this is if I get blasted, and then that's what happens.
Yeah, it was like we fucked up. Like I'm remembering like as a band, it's like you fuck up a lot, and then you're like really just in that mode where you're like, I can't believe that I fucked up that much. And the audience is like, this is the best show. You guys played so good. And you're like, thank you. Yes, I did. I definitely did everything that I was supposed to do up there and made 0 mistakes. But it's like the audience doesn't know. And the audience wants you to succeed. But at that show, I specifically said to him, I specifically said to people, no, we did not. our drummer is fucked up right now. We did not do well. Please do not tell us that. You're going to give him a big head. He's going to have 3 more White Claws, and this is going to be a fucking disaster.
Oh, he was a claw girl too?
No, I mean, I don't know.
He was
I was just using that as a reference. He was claw girl, and he like sent us videos of him on the drive over singing the songs that we were playing with the cover band, and it's like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, me personally, I mean, I can speak for the rest of us too in my band. We're very hard on ourselves, like individually, like, you know, even like one little mess up on a 40-minute set, you're like, you can't stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way we are. But that kind of, you know, that kind of like helps you, like, you know, be as accurate as possible and kind of like motivate you to, you know, just keep going and be better. So yeah, I can definitely understand, you know, where you're coming from. Yeah. And then like, even when I feel like, oh man, like, you know, tonight wasn't the best, man, people are like, man, that was amazing. Like that was crazy. Like the way he, you know, your double pedals and you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, a lot of times, you know, people won't even, you know, recognize. I mean, yeah, obviously people, you know, some people do, but, you know, a lot of people don't. So that's cool.
I would think going to like a metal show, being that like a lot of fans of metal are also musicians.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So like, you'll know, like me as a drummer, if I watch it, I'm going to know when he messes up, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's just, you know, performing live is difficult, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so. But yeah, I'm hard on myself.
No, I mean, look, we grew, I don't know if this is the same scene in Texas, but like when we were starting out, everyone just stands arms crossed at a show, just like watching you. And it's like, you don't even know the songs I'm playing, but somehow you look like you're like missed a note. It's like, you don't know what I'm playing. You don't listen. So it's like, you just like, see everybody kind of doing that. And you're just immediately in that zone of just like, I can't fuck up. They gotta like, they're going to know, they're going to see it. And you're like too in your head about it, I guess.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Like, it's very easy for you to get like lost in your head and like just having all these, like, it's kind of just like white noise almost, like, you know what I mean? But, you know, one thing I've learned, you know, early on too, was just, you know, when you're composed and you're relaxed, then, you know, you're going to perform better if you're thinking about, oh, you know, this is happening right now, or, you know, these people are here, or, you know what I mean? You know, like, you know, labels are going to come check you out. You know, your manager is going to come, you know, watch you play. So, you know, you just got to imagine that you're home and like, hey man, I've done this 1,000 times, you know what I mean? And you'll perform a lot better.
Just getting into the mindset of it all.
Yeah, and then once you do it every day, like on a tour, you do it every day. You know, your body gets used to it, and you know, you get more comfortable in your thoughts. You know, being more relaxed, composed, and you know, so it works out.
So a note to all the musicians: practice.
Fucking up is normal.
Fucking up is normal.
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
It really comes down, and I remind anybody who does anything like this, like the people who are out there want you to succeed. They want to have a good show, and they will make for a good show too. Like the audience wants you to have fun too at the show.
Yeah, for sure.
So unless they're just people on Twitter just talking mad shit, but like generally everybody wants you to have a good time and wants to make for a good show.
Yeah, on this tour, man, I mean, the fans were just so awesome. I mean, they're just very lively, you know, moshing, you know. So definitely, you know, like I was telling her earlier, you know, even when you have a day where you're kind of like, oh man, I'm tired, like seeing those fans, you know, come in, you know, to the whatever you call it, the barricade in front, you know, it just pumps you up, man, because, you know, they're excited and that gets you excited. And then once you look up when I'm playing and I see everybody, you know, moving or moshing, whatever, I mean, they just like, hell yeah, like it gets me going and I have a great time. So it's really awesome.
Yeah.
Now, with all of that, are you still encouraging crowd surfing? We all know that that's like a hotly debated thing nowadays, apparently. But I would imagine that people would be crowd surfing at a Scarlett O'Hara gig.
We did have some crowd surf. Well, it wasn't our band. It was a Skylit Drive. The last date in San Antonio, man, people were just coming over and, you know, security was grabbing them. And I thought that was really cool. And I get, you know, can be a little bit dangerous, but just got to be careful. And I personally don't mind the moshing. The crowd killing is something else. That's something you see at hardcore shows.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's you're purposely going out of your way. But I mean, people have different thoughts on it. But as far as where my genre is, I definitely don't mind the moshing or the crowd surfing at all.
Can you tell Lizzie not to crowd kill, please?
I don't crowd kill. What do you mean?
Lizzie, what are you doing?
I don't crowd kill. No, Brian just gets upset that he stands near me and he's like, I'm going to get in the pit. And then he doesn't. So then I push him.
I never say I'm going to get in the pit.
You do?
No. Lizzie is getting rid of childhood trauma in the pit sometimes. It's like, hey, man, some of us are just going to be here to like kind of like, be in our own spot and like sing along. Like I'm much more of like a sing along person than like a mosher, unless I'm like, I think it's only pretty much at like an Every Time I Die show that I've ever been, and Enter Shikari are like the two bands that I'm like, I'm going in there. And now it's only Enter Shikari. So those are the only bands that I'm in, that I'm in that pit for.
Well, I did yeet you into Kenny Hoopla and Nothing Nowhere. Meet me at the altar.
You yeeted me in there. See, Lizzie is trying to be like... He was
right there. I was like, well...
Lizzie's like, join me. Come to me. Come to the pit. Get in. The water is fine and it will punch you in the chest. It's like, hey, man, like, I'm enjoying it in my own way. And I don't want to get into anything on Twitter because it's like, dude, stop. This doesn't matter. Like shows have been happening with this and without this for years. And obviously we all come from Warped Tour and it's like, yeah, if you crowd surf and you get hurt, like be safe, be good, treat other people with kindness and take care of each other. Of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Lizzie, do that.
I do that. Here's the thing. I do that. Just sometimes you get thrown in and it's okay.
I don't think I've ever been a mosher. I don't think I've ever been a mosher just because I fear that I'm just gonna look stupid in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even know what to do. Like
you just jump back and forth.
Cool. Yeah, it looks cool when other people do it, but I'm like, man, I'm probably gonna look fucking stupid trying to.
Well, here's the thing: if you never know what to do, and there's just like an open pit, it never goes without fail, unless you're like with a bunch of really lame people, and I hope you're not, but it's happened to me a couple of times. You start skanking, and then other people will start skanking. And then you create a skank at a non-ska show, but people just go with it, and it's okay.
What's really funny is...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you
go. Okay. What I was going to say, what was really funny on this tour is that Moses, our vocalist, our last song is Angry Again. So, the crowd gets, a little wild and, it's a lot of moshing. And this guy would just jump up. He has a wireless mic, by the way. So, like, he, jumps into the mosh and he's screaming and he's like, we have videos where he's just screaming and he's getting pushed around. We were in Tucson. It was the second day. And he got into the crowd and I don't think they were moshing yet, but he was kind of like pumping them up. And you can see in the video that this guy thinks that Moses pushes him. So he goes back and pushes Moses and it creates like a whole, like, it wasn't like, he didn't do it out of anger, but like, he was just like, hell yeah, like, let's go. And like, I saw Moses for a second and then he like disappeared and like he just got lost in the pit.
You're like, damn, he's gone forever.
Yeah.
He's still singing, thank God, but he's gone forever. Yeah. Who knows who he is?
He was able to get back on stage, but I thought that was really funny. But yeah, Moses definitely likes to engage with the audience, which I love. I love that about him. I think that's really cool. And, I think it's very important. So it was fun seeing him get a little beat up in the pit there.
There's just one day, like, you're just, like, having beef, like, little beef, and you're just like, you know what, maybe this is the day that we're just like, hey, he's in the pit, just, like...
Get him.
Go wild. Have at it.
There was a hardcore band I saw back in the day that said, at the time, I just thought it was the craziest fucking thing you could ever say. Like, they brought up all the members of, like, some of the other bands onto the stage, and they were like, we just want to thank everybody on this tour. Like, come up here. And then they just looked at the audience and they said, you cannot hurt these people. Pauses. So get up here and fucking try. And then just like started playing. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh my God.
And I'm like 16 years old, just like, oh, mom, you got to pick me up right now. Oh no.
Oh, I'm scared. They're telling us to fight the band.
When I was younger, South Texas, it had a big hardcore scene, and that's kind of like the first shows that I was going to. So even though I was listening to fucking Silverstein and Under Oath and shit like that, I was, these were the shows that were available, so I would go and check them out. Me and my friends would go, and they just got so wild, man. I mean, it was just like beat down, like, crowd killing, and I've never, at that point in my life, I've never seen something like that. So I was just like, whoa, like, holy shit, these guys are literally fucking hardcore. So yeah, that's where I kind of started watching shows, and that, I mean, going to those type of shows, I mean, I remember, that's where I was able to find bands like, as Blood Runs Black. I don't know if if you remember this, Waking the Cadaver. They were just like extremely like deathcore. Like, I mean, it's just insane. But like, that's how I kind of got introduced to like that heavy, type of music, aside from fucking Hawthorne Heights and Under Oath and stuff like that. So it was a good experience for me.
Both, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta mix it together. That's how you got metalcore maybe.
Right? Yeah.
In the first
definitely.
place.
Yep.
It's I was gonna say it's very much like the high school movie dance breakdown scene at every fucking metal show, like, this is my moment. Like, the whole crowd is watching me. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to show my moves. And it's like, yeah. And then all the like popular kids are clapping and they're like, yeah, the nerd's hot now.
Yeah.
They took off their glasses because they were going to fucking break them in the pit. It's like very much that energy that happens. And then that's why I find it so interesting that like the older we get, it's the same people. It's like, no, that was my moment, man. That was, I peaked in high school dance circles. It's like, oh God, you need to settle down, man. You are 40 years old.
That's funny.
Well, I never did it, but
Wow. Yeah, the foreshadowing, I see.
No, I was like, no, I'm not going to be that high school kid. I'm going to be on the stage, that's when I'm in. Yeah, that was my thought process at the time. And now I'm like, no, never mind. I'll just hang out, have a good time at the show. Which, I mean, we're also going to talk to A Skylit Drive after this. So I'll ask the exact same question to them as I'm about to ask to you. Why aren't you coming to Chicago? Like, why?
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh, man. So, I mean, obviously, I didn't know, how this, I mean, I thought we were just doing phase one. And then, when my manager flew out to LA to come see us, and he's like, check this out, man. And it's like phase two, Scarlett O'Hara. I'm like, oh shit, badass. And then, so I was very happy about that. And we'll see. I mean, it depends whether you'll see us on phase three. Hopefully that'll kind of go back more to the Midwest, because this phase two is kind of more, East Coast, where places like Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia. So that's where phase two is at. But yeah, who knows? Phase three could move to the Midwest. So I mean, I'm sure it has to. I mean, come on.
We've been saying that about a couple bands we've interviewed, and then it's like, oh, we're here for one acoustic set, but we're opening for somebody else, and it's like,
I'm hoping you guys won't do an acoustic set.
No. You don't have to worry about that with Scarlett O'Hara.
Yeah.
We love
Lizzie will crowd kill
energy.
to acoustic music. She will do it.
I will do it. I have done it, actually. Have you ever heard Decembers by Hawthorne Heights live? With
Jesus, please stop, Lizzie.
It can be done if you believe in yourself and if everybody else believes too, obviously. So
the rest of this interview is an intervention for Lizzie's violence in the pits to any song possible. Yeah, I mean, I obviously am very much hoping that Chicago feels very like I don't know, not that we're forgotten about, just like that the tourists don't come through here. And I'm like, hey, we live here. What can we do? Like a car salesman, like, what do I have to do to put you in a venue in Chicago today?
Yeah. While you're talking, I'm just thinking about it like, man, we haven't played Chicago since like 2010 or 11. So,
Jesus.
I mean, okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, we did take, like a 4-year hiatus from the band. But yeah, I mean, even when we returned back in 2019, I don't remember playing Chicago. I remember driving through it. Yeah, we drove through it to play in Milwaukee. I haven't
That's
played,
the foreshadowing, being
Chicago.
like, I guess your guys are driving up to Milwaukee.
Yeah. It's not a long drive from here, but we don't want to make it if you're playing at like, a venue down the street, right?
Have you guys, I mean, has there been any kind of big concerts recently in the Chicago area, or?
Lizzie,
Big
you might be a better
concerts?
answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been getting some big acts. Like we got anything off the top of my head. I know we're getting the Bad Omens tour that's coming through.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
I did
You
not
guys
get
both need to
tickets.
check
I'm
that
very
out.
upset about it.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, I'm going to personally fistfight Ticketmaster because they kicked me out of the queue and froze my computer.
Oh, wow.
I was so
Wow,
upset.
jeez.
But we got that tour, and I know that we're also getting, because we're in A market, we got that Under Oath and
Yes.
Better Lovers
Nice.
tour. So I know there's some markets that didn't get that, or like I think Under Oath played in like Rockford, Illinois, which is really close to like the Wisconsin
Okay.
border.
Okay, gotcha.
I know we're also getting. We have like in like other scenes, we have like the National that just came through, another big one that didn't go everywhere.
She's going to crowd kill with that too.
No, I saw the National at Lala once, and it made me very sleepy.
Yeah.
I'm not
So you
saying it's
started
bad.
crowd
It just
killing.
made me sleepy. That's it. Okay.
Lizzie's getting turned up at the National. That's what's happening.
Paramore is one that actually skipped us. The closest they're
wow.
playing is Milwaukee. So we thought originally they were going to play Lala because their tour ends the day before Lala starts here. So we're like, that makes sense. And I heard a bunch of rumors are like, yes, they're confirmed like headliners. I'm like, okay, you're going to make me go to Lala. Awesome, to see Paramore and hope that they're on a day that I want to go see anybody else. Cool. And they're not. And then they
It's
never
so
release
weird
anything
that-
else.
It's so weird that shows are going to Milwaukee, but they won't go through Chicago. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like you guys are getting like the really big concerts, which is, really cool too.
We get the massive ones. And then I think the festival circuit just fucks a lot of it up with like, because they have to like route around like a large festival. And then they're like, never mind, we'll just skip Chicago on this run. And it's like, but
I want to see you.
Yeah. My thought is like, do you hate money? Because we're paying for the tickets. We want to go to the show.
We also thought Paramore was going to play Riot Fest after there was no Lala, and then there was no Chicago date announced. Because when they played Milwaukee, they finished playing, and then they said, they're like, oh, hey, here's like another Milwaukee date. And I was like, wow. And then I'm like, well, I guess now I'm going to Milwaukee to see Paramore.
Yeah.
They got on that Taylor Swift show. They didn't need us anymore.
Yeah, they said, we're done with you guys. We're
Yeah.
done with you fucking emo kids. You know what? Fair. I get it.
Yeah. I said that I wasn't bullying anyone in specific, but I will bully Paramore and I will bully any band to get them into the Chicago area so that we can actually see the fucking gig. We have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we do the plugs. And obviously we're waiting on another interview after this, so we have a little bit of time, but not all of the time. So if there's any thoughts in the chat, we can go ahead and maybe answer those for the last little bit here. So while you all type that out, why don't you let us know like all the plug? We'll just summarize it of like where they can get tickets to the second wave and where they should follow you so they can know when the new music is coming out.
Awesome. As far as tickets go, you guys need to follow us on Facebook, Scarlett O'Hara. You can add our personals as well. We all use our full names. So we're constantly, posting the ticket links on our, statuses. Like, on my Instagram, I have it just on the bio. And A Skylit Drive is constantly, putting out posts as well. So make sure that you guys are following them. Anytime you see one of those posts, you're going to see that ticket link there. So check it out. If you want, let me actually just read it real quick, just so you guys can type it in. It's going to be a Skylit Drive official.com/tour dates. So that's definitely where you can get some tickets for the phase 2 part of this tour. And
where you can also bully them to bring it to
Chicago.
We have fans that are listening on the East Coast too. So like, there's people out there who will definitely be enticed to go to the show now. However, we who are sitting here across from you digitally would also like to go to the show.
So hopefully phase 3, hopefully we're added to phase 3. You know, like I said, you know, phase 1 went so well that we're more than happy to, you know, be on phase 2, and, you know, hopefully it'll continue. I can't tell you too much about the future because I don't have those, you know, those details yet. Maybe A Skylit Drive might have them.
Yeah. We're about to bully them into making it happen and keeping your name on that lineup. I think that's the only way to get things. Like I literally talk about how people need to shut the fuck up on Twitter all the time. It's like, hey, stop just tweeting at people random shit. Like, you don't know these people and you shouldn't just bully them. I think the alternative to that is get a podcast, establish yourself enough so that you can get the bands on the podcast, and then you can talk to them directly and say, hey, you should come to Chicago and play a show here. We'd like to see you.
There you go.
It's a long game. I'm playing the long game of getting a podcast. I'm waiting to see if anybody posts anything in the chat. Most people have just talked shit about me talking about my cover band, including the bassist of one of my cover bands, also talking shit about the cover band. So,
what was the name of that cover band? You guys,
it's okay to say it. It's okay to say it, Bessie. You guys came up with the name all on your own.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask a question that actually came through in chat. What challenges do you have when creating a set list of old and new material?
Yeah, so I mean that is a good question. That is a tough one because, you know, for the phase 1, you know, we kind of wanted to push the new songs more. That's why we only had just a few from, you know, Lost in Existence. You know, and then after we finished the tour, you know, it's because, you know, we do get a lot of feedback. Like, you know, fans like, we're going crazy for Lost in Existence, and, you know, you see him jumping in the crowd like when we announced that we're going to play it next or whatever. And, you know, I mean, that's always, you know, good to see. And so yeah, I mean, that, you know, getting that feedback from the audience, you know, we're the type of band that, you know, we go hang out at our merch tables, we're talking to people, we're thanking them for, you know, supporting us, and, you know, we definitely, our ears, you know, whenever they want to speak up about something, you know, saying like, hey, like, I like the new music a lot, but, you know, if you guys could play a little bit more. You know, I had one guy who was actually a friend of mine on Facebook, and he was just like, man, like, I just, you know, I wanted to hear a little bit more of that Lost in Existence album. I was like, I get it, you know, but, you know, we're trying to push our new music. So there's definitely that, you know, you got to kind of balance that out. But, you know, on this next one, like I said, you know, we will be adding more songs from Lost in Existence, just because we see that, you know, so many people still come out to those shows to see, you know, these songs like Lost in Existence and Welcome to the Brodeo. So, yeah.
I'm going to keep asking questions. Way to Future said we can go back, as though I was going to just say, oh, let me interrupt their questions to tell you what the name of my cover band is. And I'm not going to do that. I'll shout out the current one, which is Taste of Emo. And I fucking hate that name. And you know it, Bridges, because you know it.
Taste of Emo. Nice.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, we're doing what we have to do. Anyway, Bridges, the bassist in that cover band, what is your approach to writing drums? As someone who produces music, I struggle with writing drum parts and be able to approach it like a drummer. He is, again, a bassist, so you can talk all the shit you want to.
So I definitely had a change in my style of drumming. You know, when these new songs come out, you know, you'll definitely hear it. But, you know, when I was younger, you know, 18, 19, you know, writing these drum parts, you know, I was just thinking like, what can I do to just sound the coolest and have the coolest parts that are going to, you know, catch people's attention. And it was metalcore, so it was kind of more fitting. But now that we're kind of expanding our sound, you know, I kind of, you know, want the drums to just complement, you know, the vocals, the guitars. You know, I want it to sound like, you know, just very nice and organized, and where it's just very easy to listen to, as opposed to how I wrote back then, with just a lot of crazy shit going on. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, now that we're writing stuff like, you know, with big choruses, you know, really cool verses, and, you know, I just want my drums to complement, you know, the guitar, the bass line, you know, whether it's a bass line, guitar riff, or, you know, even the vocals. So that's my approach to drumming now, going into the studios.
That's good. As a vocalist, that's good. I mean, it is like when you're 18, 19 years old writing music, you're just like, I want to do as
Going
much as
all out,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like why,
definitely.
like, I like the idea behind deathcore. I just hate how it sounds because it's just muddy and messy with everybody doing that in it. It's like, no, write a song with it too.
Right.
Like, we know you're good. We know you're talented. Like, every producer I've ever worked with has been like, we know that you know how to play. Now we need to know that you can write a song with that talent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, that and that comes with, you know, with time, you know, writing and stuff like that. You kind of, you know, learn that. I have my guys here checking me out right now. And they're distracting me. But like, you know what I mean? Like I'm still, just because I'm complimenting, you know, the vocals of the guitars, that, you know, I'm still going to do a drum fill, you know, double kicks, you know, I'm still adding these elements to my songs, but just kind of toning it down to where, you know, it sounds good as a whole, as opposed to drummer going crazy and like, you know, the guitar's just like chilling or whatever.
It's compliments, and it's a little bit of showing off, not 3 minutes of showing off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're like on a tour,
just,
I'm sure that's easier too. Not playing like 5-minute drum solos every set.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, you know, I'm not opposed to, you know, bands that are doing the crazy stuff. But I mean, me personally and our band as a whole, you know, we kind of focus on like, you know, let's make a song, you know, not just random guitar parts that we're putting together and, you know, drums, because, you know, that's how we wrote, you know, when we were younger. That's the only way we knew how, but, you know, you grow and you learn a lot. So,
Yep.
So yeah, that's just our approach to it now.
Well, cool. Thank you for those questions. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up the interview there. Yeah, thank you, Arnie, for coming on the pod.
Yeah.
And everybody, make sure you're following, because the music's coming out and yeah, the tour is going on. So you got to go to that. You got to buy tickets. And you got to listen to the new music.
Bully them to come to your stage.
Yeah, go online and bully Scarlett O'Hara. That's what we're gonna say. Get on the internet, fire up the Instagram machine, and just start posting the city you live in. Get on your Facebooks and start posting. I don't know. Yeah, so go and check out all the socials and follow and support, and metalcore is back. And yeah, Arnie, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a